I'm on the sofa with Roisin and Gallagher, who's standing for the position of Wellbeing Officer today at our Students' Union. So just to begin with, just tell us a little bit about yourself. So what are you studying and why are you standing to be the Wellbeing Officer?
Okay, I'm doing psychology and I want to be your new Wellbeing Officer because I feel like I've got the experience that's given me insight into what changes should be made at the university.
Okay. So there's been a considerable decrease in voter turnout over the past year in regards to Union Council. So it actually decreased 35% from 2014 compared to 2013. So what makes you think that people will actually vote? And why should people care to be engaged in union politics?
I think especially when it comes to well-being, it's very relatable. So a lot of my policies focus on student experience, and a lot of people know somebody who has had some kind of issue at university. 1 in 4 people suffer with mental health problems, and this really affects students. So a lot of my policies are kind of, you'll know someone who has experienced this kind of issue.
Yeah. So since the start of the election, there's been a decrease of 35% from 20 to 13 in the number of candidates running. So what is your reaction to this, and why is it so? Now, do you think this indicates a lack of interest in union politics?
I didn't realise it was that kind of gap.
It's a big gap.
Yeah, 7 people dropping out is a lot. I mean, I think especially in some of the categories, there's a lot of really experienced and strong people going for it, which might have put some people off, but I also think that maybe there has been a kind of drop in interest in union politics as well.
So how would you encourage people to stand in future elections in the Students' Union?
I think just by explaining to people that if you have a view and you think that something needs to be changed, then you should act on it because you can potentially have the power to make a big difference.
So do you believe that if elected, you've got this new mandate now to make change in the union? You think that the student union is capable of making changes?
I think so.
So there are currently 14 sabbatical positions. Now, as I'm sure you're aware, 5 are being contested this month. Now, do you not think there are too many positions? And surely this conflict of interest impedes effective union policy?
So there are a lot of positions and some of them might need reviewing, but I think that in order to effectively represent all kind of groups within the student body, you need to have somebody from each of these areas, because you can't sort of really understand the challenges faced by a certain group unless you have some kind of representation from them.
Okay. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about wellbeing now. So taxi companies associated with the union currently enjoy a bad reputation, with certain harassment cases brought to the public knowledge last year. So how would you handle this in terms of ensuring students' rights are protected outside the union?
So one of my policies focuses on ensuring that nights out are safer. So I'd quite like to introduce a safety room within the SU.
Okay.
So maybe if you have a friend who is far too drunk and you don't want to just sit them in a taxi because you don't feel comfortable with that, you can kind of go and speak to the people in the safety room and they can provide them with the water and comfort and just make them feel better and get them to more a sort of appropriate level to be able to leave.
So do you support the zero tolerance to sexual harassment charter in the Students' Union?
Yeah.
So would you want to maybe push this a little bit further, so like training up the bouncers, I don't know, something along those lines, to make students feel more safe inside our Students' Union?
I think so, yeah. I've heard of a couple of instances where some people have had something wrong go on in their night out and they haven't known who to speak to. And also the bouncers just finding somebody by themselves who's way too drunk and they're kind of left outside with foil wrapped around them and asking do you know this girl, can you take her home? And it's not very safe.
So do you feel more needs to be done to promote these kind of services to make students feel more safe on a night out?
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm sure you know, the cost of housing is a concern to students. So how do you intend to go about tackling the cost of housing?
Okay, so I would work closely alongside the other sabbatical officers and with SU lets to try and work out some strong agreement that can be kind of level for all students and to ensure that there's good quality housing that can be provided at reasonable rates, because I know a lot of students are paying way too much to be living in houses that have damp and mould, and their landlord's response is to just paint over it.
Okay, so I'm just going to move on to your manifesto more specifically. So what is your #1 priority if elected?
Okay, my #1 priority is to reduce the gaps in the welfare system that we have at the moment. So there's, for example, if you're away from university because of mitigating circumstances, you don't have any contact from the university. And also if you're on a year abroad as well. So this is something that I'd really like to do so that those people are aware of who they can speak to in certain situations, and have just sort of greater support at this time.
Okay, let's just go into a little bit more detail about mitigating circumstances. So how do you plan to support students taking time off due to mitigating circumstances?
So I think that students should be provided with one point of contact, which would be the Wellbeing officer, just to say if you have any issues or you need to know who to go to for certain kind of support, then please speak to me, and you can speak to me about a range of issues. So for like, if you're worried about coming back and if you don't know what to do about your housing and stuff like that. Also, I know that a good few people who went through appeals with their mitigating circumstances, they didn't actually find out the result until well into term, so they were trying to go to the lectures but weren't sure if they were actually supposed to be there.
So do you feel like they get a bit alienated?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay, so just one final question. So given the University of Leicester has its own student counselling service, including a student support service with mental wellbeing advisors, do you not think what is needed is a better promotion of the services offered by the University of Leicester, instead of having an elected officer, with all due respect, isn't trained in wellbeing?
Yeah, definitely. I think the problem at the moment with our counselling service is that there is a 9 to 10 week waiting list, which is a lot can happen in this time. And for example, if say you were going to go to the counselling service today, then you wouldn't be seen. The offered date to be seen would be in Easter, which a lot of people, they would have gone home, so this isn't very practical for them.
So what do you think the wellbeing officer will do differently to the University of Leicester in terms of offering like a student counselling service?
Well, what I would pledge to do is use part of the wellbeing budget to improve the counselling service, and also to try and provide some support for those on the waiting list, so to help promote the peer support groups that we have, like Student Minds, Nightline and MHAS.
So there's definitely like, there's a reason for why we're having a wellbeing officer.
Yeah.
It's not just because we've got a student counselling service. We do need the wellbeing officer. Do you
to
agree?
integrate everything, I think, and to really help with the promotion. So if you're not sure where to go, you can contact the wellbeing officer or check the Facebook page, because they'll be constantly promoting and making everyone aware of the services that are available to them.
Okay, well thank you very much, Roisin.
Thank you.
Thank you.